The ticket that just would not close. Way back at MSP I used to work for, we were offboarding a client for another MSP and had a ticket locked with the other MSP using their general help desk at MSP email address. It seemed they had this logged in a similar fashion on their end. Both us and the other MSP used similar ticketing systems. When you closed a ticket, it would send a closure notification to the email address used to log the ticket. This email had the wording of, "If you feel this is not completed, please reply to this email," and if this email was replied to, it would automatically reopen the ticket. The job was complete and we marked the ticket as complete on our side, which sent the closure notification to the other MSP. The other MSP closed the ticket on their side, which sent a closure notification to us. This closure notification then triggered that the email had been replied to on our side, which reopened the ticket. We then just reclosed it as already complete. This then sent a closure notification from us to the other MSP, which reopened the ticket on their side. This went back and forth a few times until one of us, I think, then manually changed the email address in the ticket so we could both finally close the tickets on each of our sides. This is my job. I'm paid to do this part 2 by user Lotta King. Part 1. I am a cybersecurity consultant on a road trip to a client site halfway across the country. I am also planning on doing some work on the road by testing some client systems in the field. I've packed a bit too much. I've got changes of clothes, a wireless pen test rig the size of a small suitcase, and a toolkit in case my car breaks down. The day I leave, my co-worker asks me to bring a banker's box of material for the engagement, since they're reflying out instead. I can carry it all, but if I need anything other than my sunglasses, I've got to pull over and pull everything out like a rest stop yard sale. That is all irrelevant. I've got clear skies, temps in the high 60s, 21C in mid-pandemic open roads. A few hours and I am in the Appalachian Mountains. Curves, beautiful scenery and wild elevation changes tell me this was a good idea. But I've got to do some work. My first copper bolt location is outside Morgantown, West Virginia. It is also a good time to stop and take care of a few necessary things. Fuel, bathroom and a decent meal outside a local roadside cafe. It doesn't head that this place is across the street from the town library in its last generation copper bolt box. And by cafe, I mean the kind of place that has their menu on black plastic letters on Aussie call a menu board sign. I look at my calendar and realize that I have some internal to the firm status call in half an hour. There is the possibility that people who shouldn't know that I am doing a road trip on company time will be on the call. I've planned for this. I brought a towel-sized sheet of green screen fabric. ILL hanger from the convertible top hostix and nobody be the wiser. Take the call, interact like I am availably home and go. I want to take a poke at this copper bolt first. That means I've got to dig out the bunch of Wi-Fi cards, SDR, USB hubs and cables, like an Giger Micro Center. I stack my other luggage on the hood and next to the car, then pull out the plastic bags holding the components. 20 minutes to call. A basic SSID scan doesn't show anything obviously copper bolt related. The library does offer guest Wi-Fi, but I'd like to collect some details, like the way of the Wi-Fi cards. 10 minutes to call. Why USB? Why? You read mercurial after like 5 Wi-Fi cards. I've got antenna stuck to bits of the car and cables all running a box with a stack of Raspberry Pis. Some selective unplug or power cycles and hardware is starting to work. 5 minutes to call. I am going to have to use the hotspot. It was a cool idea to prove my point by using an open copper bolt Wi-Fi network to attend a call. I can see all the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth devices within range of the library, including the cars driving by, but I don't see a copper bolt XXXXX network. 3 minutes to call. If I hand the green cloth from the convertible top frame, it is too close to my head. I start putting the top down and find a position halfway down that works. 2 minutes to call. I am in the passenger seat. A little adjusting and zoom will fade my home office and nobody is the wiser. I've combed my hair. I look presentable enough. I am breathing deeply, trying to relax enough to have that half zombie time as a flat circle look for the call. The call starts. There is the usual pre-call chatter. I want to keep my talking to a minimum, so I wave hello and keep looking at the wireless scan on my laptop. A few of the participants are dropping company gossip. I try to stay out of this unless I have first-hand knowledge of the event. This is one of those times. This time they read Talking the Lawnmower Man. That is the nickname for a salesman who joined a client call sweaty and shirtless last week. Normally the salesperson is there to listen to the clients and see if there is additional work they can sell. The salesperson decided to multitask and take the call while mowing his lawn. He managed not to accidentally go off mute while on the mower, but the video did show him topless. Not a confidence-inspiring look to start with, and he went down from there. He read from the findings section of the deliverable like a sermon, then tried to close the sale during the call even after the client made it clear to the rest of us they needed time to plan a response to our findings. A few of us were on the client's Slack where they made it clear that they never wanted to see the lawnmower man again. The participants on my current call are taking lawnmower man's side and how unfair it is for the client to pick on him for his eccentricities. I really don't want to do anything more than attend this call, so I don't say anything. Then I see a managing director join the call. This is definitely someone I don't want figuring out I am on a road trip. The managing director clears their throat and people go silent. Managing director, I am working on a few fast flyers and I need SMEs to put some color on our decks. Translation, I am trying to sell some engagements and want people familiar with the industry or technology to convince the prospective client that we know what we're doing. The MD puts up a slide with a bunch of prospects. One is of particular interest to me. I hope to be able to quickly explain my experience and go back on mute. We go through the first 5 or 6. I nod silently to look engaged-ish. Mine is probably number 8 on the list, so I am coming up with my elevator pitch. I notice a new Wi-Fi network named Bobby's Chevrolet appear on my scan. The 7th is something industrial. I think it is some component of an oil refinery or chemical plant. I am only paying attention to know when the discussion ends. I hear the squeak of brakes and the clatter of a diesel engine by my ear. There is a Chevy Silverado pulling into the spot next to my car. It has got a modest lift kit and a middle-aged man wearing a safety green t-shirt and wraparound sunglasses. He is surveying the scene with suspicion. Man, hey. What on earth are you up to? Oh no, he is talking to me. I double-check that I am on mute, take my headset off and look up at him. Me, I am working. Can you leave me be? Man, what? Are you an influencer? Me, look, Bobby, I am working. I am paid to do this. Guessing at his name definitely surprised him. He gets out of his truck and double-checks that it is loved before walking slowly to the cafe. And somehow I missed the engagement I wanted. The call eventually ends and I get to show attendance by saying thank you before dropping off. I go back to looking for the copper bolt and after a bit determined that it is not doing anything wireless. That is a data point. It is time to get back on the road, but it is also time for a cup of coffee. I order at the counter and see Bobby walk out back to his truck. On his way back, he takes his time peering into my gear. As I walk up with my to-go coffee, I offer an apology. Me, hey there, sorry to freak you out. Your truck gave you away. Bobby, I guess. Is that what all this is for? Me, yep. It is for wireless scanning. Bobby, aha. Have a good one. Bobby leaves and I pack up my gear to resume my trip. Have you got other copper bolt devices to look at and miles to go? To be continued. Apparently, being a mind reader is requirement of tech support by user Passionator96. Hello all, I work in tech support for a pretty big company. We read tech support for the employees, not the customer, so one would think the callers would have more basic knowledge. Anywho, this past week I got a call and started with my normal script, which includes asking for an identification number. I barely got my greeting out of my mouth before I was cut off by an irate employee because she had been transferred to me from one of our contractor teams. In this company, we have calls for certain issues outsourced to other teams as they are easier issues to fix. The contractors are not trained in the more time-consuming intricate issues as they are just meant to lessen our call load on for the simple issues. Unfortunately, when we have a call, callers will hang up and call another line hoping to get their issue resolved faster. This leads to calls being transferred as usually they switch to the line for our contractors. That is what happened with. Let's call her Susan. I answered and barely got my greeting out before she was irate and yelling over the phone. I listened and politely asked Ma, may I please have your ID number 3 times before she huffed and stated she doesn't even know what's going on. To be honest, my patience was wearing thin at this point, so in a firm tone I stated, Mom, I don't even know who you are. Susan indeed did not like this and started going off again. I eventually was able to get her ID number after about 5 minutes of her being irate. I looked at the ticket for the call she was transferred from and couldn't gain any good insight into the issue from it. I'm dead serious when I say I listened to Susan being irate and stating how stupid we are for the entirety of the 15-minute call. I maybe was able to 2 minutes of talking time. Eventually she got annoyed and hung up, and I was left thinking about my life choices. So moral of the story, tech support agents are supposed to be all-knowing beings. Who would have thought? Edit. Yes, I did report the call, and yes, my supervisor handled it by sending it up the line.